So, right, that's all you need to, and look, it's interesting to me because so oftentimes I have pointed out, I was the first one to tell you going back 2 years ago, the Rams were gone, that they were going to L.A. And I told my producer, Adam Klug, like, they're gone. He's like, it's not a story until they actually leave. I was like, okay. So I mentioned it on and off. And then this year I have told you, because I have people that I know within the Chargers organization, like, I'm from Orange County. They were relocating to Orange County. And they're like, dude, we're going to Orange County. We're moving to Orange County. Where should I live? What schools should my kids be in? That they were gone. But my response is, so, like, in the grand scheme of the NFL, it doesn't really affect much of anything. But the truth is, what it leaves behind does affect a lot of things. Okay? There is a major effect. By my estimation, San Diego was in line for another Super Bowl or two. Whenever big soccer matches come back, the bowl games they have now at Qualcomm would only get better and bigger. The likelihood is of a college football playoff bowl game as well. The stadium was set to be a dome, which would have allowed them to have the Final Four, and it's San Diego. It's the destination city. And so oftentimes we get caught up in the idea of, well, he's a billionaire. Why does he not want to pay for the whole thing? How do you think he got to be a billionaire to begin with, dude? My mom, it was an interior designer. That logo is like, okay, well, let's take the Dodgers logo and we'll slant the letter and then add a lightning bolt. It's genius. They have the L.A. We have the L.A. with the risotto at the end. My mom was an interior designer for 45, 50 years. She still does some work. And she works in medical. She began to focus on medical office buildings in the mid-'80s. Medical office buildings, doctor suites, et cetera, et cetera. And she told me something which applies to most things in life. She used to say, wow, you should be great to work for doctors. Like, they always making money, right? And she's like, they do, but doctors are among the cheapest people on the face of the earth. One, they spent a lot of money for their education. Many people still carrying the weight, the burden of medical school bills. But two, like, how do you think they got to be rich? So I get that Dean Spanos looks like a bad guy, and I do think that ultimately capitalism can have pitfalls like this, where the bottom line becomes just that. But Dean Spanos didn't want to come out of his pocket. Some of it was reasonable. Like, what people won't tell you is, to take Dean Spanos' side, is, hey, this was a football stadium, but it was going to be multi-purpose, and it was going to include the convention center. Like, Dean Spanos shouldn't have to pay for the San Diego Convention Center because he wants to build a stadium to house his team, and he wasn't going to own the team. Secondly, San Diegans were going to pay for it for the most part. It was going to come out of hotel taxes. And there hasn't been a single person alive that's ever gone like, hey, you want to go to San Diego? Yeah. You know what? They raised the hotel tax, so I'm not going to go to Coronado. Like, look, we're not fine print people. Don't pretend like we are. Nobody signs up for a credit card looking at the fine print going, hey, the beginning balance is, the beginning APR is 0.9%. Then after 6 months, it's 18.9%. Does that stop you from getting a credit card? Of course not. You just tell yourself, like, you know what I'm never going to do? I'm never going to cover credit card balance. Many of you lease automobiles. You have no idea about the balloon payments. I tell the story all the time. My dad had 2 degrees, Ohio State, Columbia, right? Master's degree from an Ivy League school. And in 1994, he bought me a 1995 Chevy Camaro because I got a scholarship to Notre Dame. That was my reward. And all he worried about was the payments per month. So he got a GMAC Smart Lease, which was also known as a really dumb buy. It had a huge balloon payment after like the 4th year, but he didn't pay attention to all that. He's a highly educated guy who could do numbers in his head, but failed to read the fine print. And so if you think that people are going to stop flying into San Diego, they're going to stop putting their conventions there because every time you booked a room, there was a 16% tax, which seems a bit high, on each room because you got to pay for this stadium. It doesn't happen. Like, look, everybody, you ever got in your hotel room? You're like, what the hell is a resort tax? Somebody's like, it's got to pay for this, pay for that. So they do it. This is the way that business is unfortunately done in our country. And while there are some people that will keep their team in their present locale, Dean Spanos smartly is like, look, we'll move our facility to Orange County. So if you really want to live in North San Diego, you can make the drive for practice and you're only going to the stadium 10 times a year. Like if you're a player, you're only going to the stadium 10 times a year. Nothing really changes for the players. If you're single or you're married, you can live in Orange County and go to your practice facility. If you want to stay where you are, stay where you are. And you can take a train to work or you can drive to work. You're driving against traffic. But to me, this is kind of a big so for the entire world. This is like a freak out. Can't believe they left San Diego. San Diego. Founded by the Germans. Right? But how does it affect you? It doesn't. This is an absolute no effect on anybody outside of San Diegans who don't get a Super Bowl, don't get an NBA All-Star game, don't get a Final Four. Seriously, that's it. Because most of us aren't going to pay to go to an NFL game, right? At some point, people are going to get smart and be like, dude, why am I going to these games? It's a sausage fest anyway. Dudes just want to get in a fight. I got to pay a PSL just for the right to buy season tickets, stand outside in a parking lot and drink beer when I can get whatever beer I want, get 2 or 3 TVs, and if the game stinks and I'm watching up my favorite team, I can turn the channel or Red Zone finds the good game for me. But we're not that smart. And so we freak out about the Chargers leaving a city that we know to be glorious and wonderful, and it still will be. It just won't be the site of major sporting events, with the exception of Petco. Right? And you'll have people who will say, like, well, why didn't... The current stadium is located in a place called Mission Valley. Okay? Mission Valley is right where all these, like, 15 freeways all come together. Perfectly located for a commuter, and San Diego is a commuter town. Right? When it was built, it was like, oh, we'll put hotels there. We'll put some restaurants. They built some restaurants there. We got a stadium there. Boom. Done. Great. But if you've ever been inside Petco, it's a lot like going to your buddy who's like in his 20s apartment. Right? It's the oldest stadium in the NFL that hasn't been redone. And if you've ever been inside the bowels of a new stadium, you'll see all of the wires, what is that? What are the kind of wires called? Oh man, all the cables that carry all the high-speed data stuff. Okay, that's like all exposed. It's basically, you ever been to a buddy's house? He's like 23, just got a flat screen TV, put it up on the wall, but he's got all the wires hanging down. Right, doesn't get him put inside the wall. Although I know there's much more wireless technology. You know, we call it ghetto wiring. That's what it looks like. Like the stadium is a dump. The big screen is a standard def big screen, and it's not even a big screen. Many of you have a larger TV on your wall than the San Diego Chargers have in their stadium. It's that bad. And so, look, if you've been there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you're like, you know what? It's time to get a new stadium. It's time to build a world-class facility. We'll throw in $300-400 million. The league's throwing in a couple $100 million. San Diego needs to pay up. And San Diego's not even paying up. It's coming out of people who visit San Diego, and only 43% of the people vote for it. Do you really blame the owner for going, I'll move up the coast, pay the $550 million, because he's not really paying in real money. He'll just take it out of the value of the team, which will double the second he gets into L.A. County. Like we understand real estate, location. The exact same football team is worth twice as much when it's in LA County as opposed to in San Diego. And the interesting part is going to be that they're going to play in a 27,000 seat or 30,000 seat soccer stadium, which frankly is better than the dump that is the Coliseum where the Rams play. But neither team has a coach. Only one has a quarterback. LA has two teams. And I'm not sure it affects anybody at all. And yet, there you go.